So let's get right to it. Matters of the heart / flesh. And we're starting off with singleness. How many people know you're born single? If nothing else. If you weren't, I'm okay. So the first scripture we're going to read really quick. So 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 6 through 7, and then verse 32 through 35. And I want everybody to go back and read this by themselves as well, just so you can hear more of what's being said. So this is Paul speaking. We talked about Paul, if y'all remember when I introduced our Roman series. Paul is an apostle who he's one who was sent to tell the message of God. So he heard from Jesus directly the message that he was supposed to spread to others. And in this moment, he's talking to a church that's in a place called Corinth. And they're really living in a way where it's not the way that those who know God should live. Let's just say that. Not in any stretch, but these are Christians who are there. So, like one of the things, for instance, he's answering in this question, and if everybody can mute yourselves, please. I feel like that principal or a teacher who's like, please mute yourself. But oh gosh, this is recording. Y'all gonna see that. So one thing with Paul, he's answering a question in this moment where somebody asked him, or you can look in the beginning and it says like, it's good for a man to not have sex with a woman. Because they were just doing rampant stuff. So some of the people who were writing the letter to Paul, that was what they came to. It must be true that men shouldn't have sex with women. It was just like, you should, like, if you read it, you'll get to get more of the context, but he's answering that question here specifically. But what you'll see, it has implications for other parts of life because Paul was answering something so much bigger than what their question actually was. If you know anybody who's like fake deep and they be answering questions, dang, actually, I think I'm fake deep, but they be trying to answer questions that you didn't even ask. Paul was kind of doing that here, but he was actually speaking from the Lord himself. So he says, now as a concession, not as a command, I say this, I wish that all were as I am, but each has his own gift from God, one of one kind and one of another. I want you to be free from anxieties. The unmarried man is anxious about the things of the Lord, how to please the Lord, but the married man is anxious about worldly things, how to please his wife, and his interests are divided. The unmarried and betrothed woman is anxious about the things of the Lord, how to be holy in body and spirit. But the married woman is anxious about worldly things, how to please her husband. I say this for your own benefit, not to lay any restraint upon you, but to promote good order and to secure your undivided devotion to the Lord. So just to reiterate how I was saying, please put questions in the Slido again. Questions about singleness. We're going to talk about dating, marriage, and sex next week. You can put it anonymous as well, so we won't know who you are, even I myself. So even if it's, Derek, even if you put the questions there, like Derek Williams, if y'all know him, yeah, I won't know. So I want to start with the first part. So in this, Paul is saying, now I say this not as a concession, or I say this now as a concession, not as a command. I say this, I wish all were as I am, as I myself am, but each has his own gift from God, one of one kind and one of another. So what I really want y'all to hear from this really quick, singleness is a gift from God. I don't know if that's something that you've heard before, but I want that to really sit with you. Singleness is a gift from God. Has anybody heard that before? Does anybody actually know what that means? Okay, I see one hand. I see some head nods. We talk about singleness being a gift. Some of us probably have some stuff in our mind. But what this, like, when I was thinking about this, I think about when you have a certain gift, it matters what is the orientation of your heart in actually receiving that gift. Does everybody believe that's true? So if you don't believe that's true, I want you to think about a watch for a second. Can everybody picture a watch in your mind? Can I get some head nods? You got a watch? A watch? Okay. So would you accept an expensive watch as a gift? Yes? Okay.
Depends on who gave it to him.
It depends on who thank you.
Yes.
It depends on who gave it to you. So you think of that same expensive watch, right? One watch, you just got it from your mom. You probably keep that. Another one you got from your ex. Y'all broke up. Please don't answer. Don't make any head nods because y'all might have some different answers here. But would you keep that watch that you got from your ex?
No.
You about to throw that thing away?
Yes.
Would you keep a watch that you knew somebody was trying to use to manipulate you?
No.
So the intention of the heart. Thank you, Tanzania. I don't know you.
I'm trying to support because we quiet today. I don't understand.
No, but if you think about it, the actual gift, what matters is the intention of the giver and the heart behind it. So not just the gift itself, but you actually are able to understand the gift by the one who's given it. So for us to even understand that singleness is a gift, we have to understand who God is. Pretty simple, right? For us to understand the intention behind singleness being a gift, we have to understand who God is as well. So one of those things is that singleness, the reason why God gives, or we can say singleness is a gift. Actually, before I say that, one other thing that I want to say too is that a lot of us, in the same way we do with some Christmas gifts, I'm about to call some people out. I don't think I've ever done this, so I'm not calling myself out. We try to re-gift the gift that we got from somebody else and give it away. A lot of us do that in, and I'm not trying to go into dating because that's not what we're doing right now, but a lot of us get ourselves into situations we know we shouldn't be in because we're trying to re-gift the gift that's been given to us. But if you actually see what you've gotten from God, you would know. That's why Paul is saying in this moment, this is something that has been given. This is not something that, singleness isn't something that people take. It's something that has actually been given. And what makes the gift so important is that God sees an infinite value in who we are. So if you think about the image of God, our original intention in which what God told to Adam and Eve was that they were supposed to bear his image in this world. Now we live in a world that has intentionally separated itself from God. So we see broken pieces and broken shards of that image. But when we see the fullness of the actual image, we see the self-worth that we're supposed to have because of the creator and maker who actually gave it to us. You can't actually value singleness if you don't really value yourself. You can't fully value yourself the way you're supposed to unless you value the one who gave you even what you call yourself. So it all goes back to the root. You can try to find it some way or another way, but every way will leave you in a place where you're searching for something that you don't have. And I know for me, like even for myself, I didn't really, this might sound weird. Maybe some of y'all realized before me. I really had a recognition of being single after getting out of a relationship from college. I remember just thinking like, before that point, it was kind of just like, okay, I was born this way. I came in this world alone, but it was actually after leaving that relationship in college or post-college, actually realizing that I was single. And there were certain things that I had to figure out, what does this actually mean to be separated from another? Because I was so worried about what does it mean to be attached to another person. So I actually had to figure out what is this actual image that God has called me to bear? What is some of the other things that we're about to talk about in a second as well? But you actually, to actually understand that singleness is a gift from God, you have to understand the giver and the intent of the giver. The intent of the giver is for worth to actually be established. It's not just about, because I know we sometimes in our society, we glorify relationships. But there actually has to be, there's a reason why God has not created you attached to another. And I'm not talking about, obviously you come out with the umbilical cord. I'm not talking about that. But there's a reason why God has created you not attached to another, because we're originally intended to attach ourselves to him. But so often we try to attach ourselves other places that we're not intended to. So we end up broken shards where we're almost like paint, putting ourselves on a wall and trying to rip ourselves off because we never established our own worth. The problem is that, and I want to retract something that I just said, because we try to establish our own worth, but our own worth has already been established by the one who has made us. We try to remix and rebrand something that has already been given to us that can only be restored by having a relationship with Jesus. I'm not even getting to my points here. I'm just talking. But to go on for a second, I think something that, to take this point further, so something that for you to primarily understand your singleness, you need to ask the Lord, why is it a gift? Don't take my word for it. Why is it actually a gift? Because if you don't see it as a gift, you'll keep trying to remix it, rebrand it, and give it to somebody else. You'll try to gift your singleness to somebody else. A lot of us know what that means without me even having to go into what that actually means in and of itself. From there as well, another thing, so if you read the second part of the verse that was in there, so this is verse 32 through 35, and it says, I want you to be free from anxieties. The unmarried man is anxious about the things of the Lord, how to please the Lord, but the married man is anxious about worldly things, how to please his wife. His interests are divided. I want you to listen to that part. His interests are divided. And the unmarried or betrothed woman is anxious about the things of the Lord, how to be holy in body and spirit. But the married woman is anxious about worldly things, how to please her husband. I say this for your own benefit. I want to stop there because I don't know how many of y'all may have heard your parents say something like that to you before. I'm saying this for you. Or if you've ever had a friend who like is telling you, like, they're sitting you down. My friends have had an intervention with me before. So sometimes they'd be telling me, like, we're not saying this for ourselves. Like, we're saying this for you. This is not for the purpose of us just like breathing or saying stuff, but it's for your own benefit. And read this next part, not to lay a restraint upon you. For some of us, we feel like every time somebody is giving us advice of what not to do, we feel like there's a restraint that's there. And that's actually not what's true. Boundaries that is given is actually for freedom. If you look at a soccer game, and not to get off of my point, but if you ever look at a soccer game, shout out to Emmy, he can tell you about soccer. But if you look at a soccer game, if a player is out of bounds, and y'all have heard me say this before, if a player is out of bounds, they're not in the game. You can kick the soccer ball wherever you want, across the field. You can kick it into somebody's car. You can do all these things, but you're not actually in the game as much as you can think you are. Because we keep trying to rebrand a gift that has been given, a lot of us are not even in the game. We're playing on the sidelines, thinking that we're actually doing what we're supposed to, and we're not. I promise there's a good part to this message as well. But he said, I say this for your own benefit, not to lay restraint upon you, but to promote good order and to secure your undivided devotion to the Lord. So my last point, and I really want to give time to just the panel that we're going to do and hearing from your questions. So I hope you're putting questions there as well. But the first thing is that singleness is a gift. And I want y'all to go back and read 1 Corinthians 7. The second thing is that you can have undivided focus. Now, I don't want you to hear what I'm not saying, what I'm not saying. Marriage is a gift. Singleness is a gift. Marriage is a gift. Those two things can coexist. What I'm trying to speak about is if God has you in a season where the gift he's giving you is singleness, cherish it. If he has you in a season where the gift is marriage, cherish it. Cherish the gift that is being given. And in both, let your focus be undivided. So in singleness, what does that actually look like? Oop. Not yet, not there. But in singleness, our undivided focus, what does that mean? We should actually, how do I say this? The first part is that we need to find out, and I don't say this like, please don't hear this as pressure, but a good thing to find out is purpose and calling. Purpose and calling. Think about if you can have an undivided focus for your maker, you can actually figure out what is the purpose of why you were created. Think of an Apple laptop. Some of y'all know I'm not super Apple. I have an Android phone.
You trying to be petty?
But think of an Apple laptop. Imagine if the only use that somebody was using it for was to tell time. A laptop can do that. It makes no sense to buy a laptop because we know its value and just use it for time. But many of us, myself included, in the past, I've focused on my one-dimensional thing because I didn't actually seek the maker to find out what was my intended purpose for my creation. So I can actually be undivided in that focus until he's gifting me in another season. If that's his actual purpose for you. This will actually scare some of us because it means that we're not going to be able to have our hands on the wheel for control. What I'm asking you to do is take your hands off the wheel because all you're doing, imagine being in the passenger seat and trying to move the wheel of somebody who's actually driving. All you can do is mess it up. Like that never helps. So actually find out what is the gift that the giver is giving you and focus in that place. The way that one person said it is that calling is where our talents and burdens collide. I didn't create that, so please don't quote me. If you find the quote on the internet, just forget I said it. But calling is where our talents and our burdens collide. And it's so much bigger than that when you actually look at what God is saying and doing. Our purpose is what God calls you to do that is beyond your God-given talents and ability. When I knew that God's purpose for me was in ministry, I was looking at like, I don't know how much money I'm about to be making because I'm trying to pay off this debt. But the other thing I was looking at was like, God, what you're calling me to do is so much bigger than I can even conceive. And it was scary because in my own mind, I was so worried on what can I actually do? How can I actually do this? And God was like, you're missing the point. The reason why I have your purpose for you, the reason why I've given you a purpose is because it's bigger than you. Like that's the whole reason for it. Your calling will actually show you Where is God using you in that specific purpose at a time? There's a larger purpose that all of us as Christians have. Matthew 28:19, 18 through 20, you can read all of it. Jesus says, all authority on heaven and on earth has been given to me. Therefore, go and make disciples. If you're not a disciple, Jesus is speaking to you. If you are a disciple, Jesus is speaking to you. Either you're the one who's becoming one, or you're the one who's supposed to go and make one. That's our greater purpose. God can speak more specific purpose, but sometimes we get so caught up in the specifics. God, what do you want? What is my purpose? And oftentimes it's for our own glory. But if we go and seek God's glory, his purpose will become clear to us in his time. If you came here for a 1 to 3 step of how to be single, how to find out, that's not what the purpose of this was. This should be a reorientation for those who have taken their minds off of who God is in their singleness or whatever season he has you in, so that you can actually turn back and cherish the gift that he's given you. So calling, how I said, is where your talents and burdens collide. And then purpose is what God is calling you to that's actually bigger than your God-given talents and abilities. Also, you should find out what are the ways because of that I can serve him. If you think about, like, if any of y'all work for organizations, the biggest thing that they're paying you for, yes, is your abilities, but a lot of times it's actually time. When you can be undivided in what you're doing, they do pay you for your ability. So don't hear me wrong. But when you can be undivided in what you're doing, what is produced can't be found elsewhere. Like, people will pay you for your time. That's why overtime is time and a half. If you can work overtime, some people have salary jobs, but overtime is usually time and a half because our time is valuable. So why not give it to the one who actually deserves it? So I'm going to end here, land the plane here, to just say, if you got nothing out of this, know that if you're truly where the Lord has intended you to be, if it's singleness, it is a gift. One, because your maker has knowledge of a worth that is beyond what you know. A good way to picture, I was actually going to put this in the presentation, but I didn't. A good way to picture it is like an iceberg. The worth that we usually see is that top part. But because God is not blinded by the water, he's not blinded by all those things that's happening, he can actually see our full worth. The second thing is that in our singleness, we're allowed to be undivided in our focus, free from anxieties. We're able to focus on being holy as God is holy. We're able to focus on serving the Lord, finding out what is our purpose, what is our calling. So at the end of the day, the finished product will be one where you have a maker who is saying, well done, my good and faithful daughter. Well done, my good and faithful son. But if you don't know him, because if you notice in everything that I said, the most pertinent piece is knowing who the Lord is. If you don't know who this is, let me give you a short glimpse into who he is. God in his majesty. This is a man, this is a God who is sitting on a throne, came down into earth. All of us say we're not perfect. He lived that life that we're aspiring to when we're saying we're not perfect. He lived that perfect life. But because we're not perfect, there's actually consequences, and he took those consequences on himself. He died the death that I was supposed to die. Can anybody count to 3? On the 3rd day, he rose from the dead. That was proving that he's the Son of God. All of us, a lot of times we're worried about, oh, does this person actually know who I am? When Jesus rose from the dead, he proved exactly who he was, the Son of God. And he's offering salvation and forgiveness of sins for those who repent, which means to turn from our ways and believe in him. For you to know your worth, for you to know why singleness is important, you need to invest yourself in knowing who Jesus is. I went over my time. We're about to get to this panel, hear from some wonderful people. Hopefully y'all benefited from this. Hopefully you're adding questions in the actual group. So I'm going to look at that soon. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen real quick. So for this panel, and we can put it back on the gallery view real quick. So for this panel, we're about to have 3 people on there. So still time to put in questions. Go to slido.com, SLIDO.com. The code is 41339, and you can put in questions. Our first panelist hails from Delaware, from the mighty place of, I actually don't know what's in Delaware. The mighty place of no taxes, no sale taxes, I think, right?
No taxes, period, on anything. What it says on the tag is what you pay.
Wow. This shows you some people need no introduction, so they cut into the introduction themselves. But she actually on our campus team, a graduate of American University. Go Eagles, right?
Yes.
Okay. Another panelist we have right now, over there with his, I don't know if he changed it, but he's looking like the dark Kermit with his hoodie on. Ronnell Brown hails from Howard University. Go Bisons. Can I do the sign? No? The little, okay. And then last but not least, I will be answering some questions as well. Actually, I probably won't, but I'll try to. So
is this a panel or like a discussion if you're not going to be a part? Just out of curiosity.
It is a discussion.
Okay.
With panelists.
Okay.
So a couple questions are coming up in the chat, but before we start, I want to start us off with some questions that we had that I think will just be really important for people to hear the answers to. They may be questions that people have already thought before. I don't want to claim that I know that people have thought them, but we will see. Are y'all ready?
Yep.
So if you can give your best short and concise answers for the people, we would love to see it. Isn't that what the young folks say? We would love to see it. Okay. We love to see it. No, that's what they say. We love to see it. Okay. First question. Let's see. Let's actually do this one. What is the line between desiring marriage and idolizing it? I'm starting just straight off the bat. As the young folks also say, I don't play fair, you know. Wait, do you know you're on mute, Brianna? Oh, okay. I thought you were coming off mute.
Dang, y'all hit me with the heavy hitter early. Brianna, you want to go first? You got it.
Nah, you got it.
Okay. What is the line between desiring marriage and idolizing it? I think I've had to deal with this personally, right? I think it's when I'll just speak from personal experience. When my relationship with God, the healing that I desire, the personal development, the calling that I have is culminating to a point to prepare myself for marriage. Right. So what does that mean? Meaning that, like, let me get practical, right? Like, I'm reading my Bible, I'm being discipled, all so that I can be, or like, preparing financially and like all this type of stuff. Like dealing with my past and my emotions and like healing, all so I can meet the end goal of getting married. Now, preparing for marriage and stewarding your heart and learning and growing is not a bad thing. But if I'm doing all of that just so I can get married, right? If I'm being sanctified just so I can get married, right? My goal, then it's become an idol, because I should want those things. I should want to be whole. I should want purpose. I should want calling. I should want stewardship. I should want to grow deeper in my relationship with God, to be closer to Him, to want more of Him. You know what I'm saying? Ultimately, right? I think there is a preparation, for marriage in your heart, for sure. But if I'm doing all of that just to be like, all right, so I can get myself ready to be in this relationship that I want more than anything else, then I think it's idle.
I would agree. I would say that, an idol is anything that comes before God. So if it's in the top spot, then it's an idol. If it's something that is your main goal in life, you're like, this is something that I want to achieve. This is something that I want. There's nothing wrong with wanting marriage, but there's something wrong with it when it's like the only thing you can focus on. If that's the only thing that you're giving life to, if that's the only thing that you're giving vision to, and not focusing on what God has for you at the end of the day, what He really wants for your life, which, yes, for some people, God wants marriage, but it's not, I wouldn't say it's His top priority. Like, if you get married, like, you're going to heaven. Like, that's not what God really wants for us, all of us. So
It's good. Rapid fire. Y'all ready for the next one? We heating up. I don't calm down. I need to wipe my forehead because I'm sweating. It's heating
you're
up.
a little shiny. Mm-hmm.
But if God is really all I need, why do I still yearn for a relationship? I can start if y'all want me to start.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, Brianna, you were going.
I was gonna say, we're all human, first and foremost. So we have wants, we have desires. And I think that God has placed those wants and desires in our hearts, but it depends on how we go about them. So, I don't know, it's a hard question, but I don't think there's anything wrong necessarily with that desire to be married. That's all I got.
Oh, that's good. I think there's a core part of the desire as well. So I think about, like, this is just the way I think, but the two greatest commandments: to love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and to love your neighbor as yourself. God has never actually divorced loving Him from loving others. So oftentimes we do that, but if you look at in First John, or if you look at the epistles of First John, Second John, Third John, he actually says that how can you love God who you can't see and not love your neighbor who you can see? So oftentimes our yearning for relationships is one that is actually, in some cases, a yearning for community. In addition to, actually, we do yearn for romantic relationships. So I'm not cutting that out, but oftentimes we skip over that, and it's actually a yearning for community that God has actually embedded in us that we look for everywhere else. But God Himself has never told us that we look to Him with all our love, and that should pour out into our love to other people. God, that's what He wants us to do. So it's actually a relationship with others that He's given us. The problem is we need to see Him first and actually love Him with everything we have so we can properly give that to others as well. Yeah, y'all ready for the next question? Okay. And then I'm going to go to the audience questions right after this. So, should I date a godly person that I don't find attractive?
Oh, Jesus. Oh, that's just real. Brianna, you got it. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say the journalist in me wants to ask more questions and be like, well, why don't you find them attractive? But I mean, I wholeheartedly don't believe God would, I guess, align you with someone who you're not attracted to. That's just my thought. Cause it's like, I mean, but you can also grow an attraction to someone. So that's also something else. But at the same time, whether you're growing in it or whether it's on site, like at the end of the day, you're still going to be attracted to them. And I don't, like I said, I don't think God would want you to be with someone you're not attracted to, even though it's not all about looks. So.
Yeah, from a guy's perspective, like, man, this is a tough one. I know for me,
Why? Tell
like,
them why it's tough.
just keeping a buck, we're gonna go there today. I think the standards of beauty in our society, like if we're just being very honest, right? Like, and not just like, I don't want to put, when you hear standards of beauty, I don't want you only hear like how women are viewed. I think it's unfair towards women specifically, like the way, you know, women are scrutinized for their body image and all that type of stuff. I don't say that to minimize it. I just say that because it, to categorize something that is has a lot of depth to it. Like, I think the standards of beauty are like skewed in our life. And I just be honest, as men, or I'll speak for my life, like I think the years of toxic masculinity and just you know, like video vixens and porn and all that type of stuff can skew what you view as attractive, right? And so, like, to answer the question, I think you should be physically attracted to the person that you are pursuing, you know, for a relationship. But I'm also cognizant, even in my own life, of how the negative things that have shaped my view of what beauty is, right, plays a fact. Like, you know, I want her to love the Lord and be bad as I don't know what, you know what I'm saying? And it's just like, not saying she can't be a bad John, you know what I mean? But it's like, I'm not saying she can't be. I'm just saying that, like, and not that my standards are too high. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that like um I'm saying that like some of the check boxes that I have in my heart or in my mind may have been skewed by what God doesn't even define as what beauty is. And just for a minute, I was reading Proverbs 31 because just trying to look at the word of like what a godly woman looks like. And it's not a lot about her physical features. It's more about what's in her heart and what she does and how she treats people. And, you know, just to keep it a buck, right? Like, I was listening to Jackie Hill Perry and she was like, I started to view sex, right? And I know we're talking about that next week, but physical attractiveness leads to sex, right? Like that's you know, that's part of it, right? And we want that. Sex is a great thing. Okay, we'll get into that. She's gonna preach the walls off. But like when we start using physical, like somebody, y'all, we gonna get old and saggy at some point, you know what I'm saying? And but she was also saying on a deeper level, like there's gonna be a certain point where my physical intimacy with my spouse may not actually no longer be possible. And the intimacy that we share, the attraction that we share is gonna have to look different. You know what I'm saying? So that means I can't put physical attractiveness at the highest level of priority, but it can be a priority for sure. I just don't think it should be the highest, you know?
It's good. Something I'll say to this too. Emmy actually helped in this. Emmy does help in some things, but there was a book that he gave me to read, and something that is said in there that challenged me is that attraction and beauty is actually a yearning for glory. Now, please don't take this and go idolizing beauty because you're hearing me wrong if that's what you do. But it's actually like God's glory is the ultimate, like the pinnacle of beauty. So obviously we're not looking at God for, is he physically attracted attractive? If you are, please reach out to one of us. We can have a conversation with you. There's probably other things we need to address. We're not looking at God for that that physical attractiveness, but beauty in its proper form is actually that yearning for glory, which the ultimate pinnacle can actually only be found in God's glory. So if we pray, and that's challenged me, because if we place it in its proper context, it can actually be something very healthy. But if we let society tell it, that like us finding somebody who we find attractive in our own right is actually the ultimate pinnacle, which is an idol. So I think that just helped me to shape and reshift what does it actually mean and what is the ultimate form of beauty, which is God's glory. Another good question that we got. So for y'all, do you think that God has protected you from certain experiences or pain or directed you towards joy in your singleness?
Can you repeat it?
Absolutely. Do you think that God has protected you from certain experiences or pain or directed you towards joy in your singleness? So is there certain things that you feel like he's been protecting you from, / is there things that he's actually been showing you there's joy in the state of your singleness?
Yeah, Brianna, go ahead.
Yeah, I would definitely say he's protecting me for sure. I mean, from a lot of things, like we all know a lot of people, not a lot of people, but like probably people who have gone through a lot of hurt, a lot of pain, a lot of trauma, drama, a lot of different things. And for me, I do think that the Lord has hidden me specifically for a reason, for a purpose, and guided me in that, and I'm grateful. But it also comes with doubt and questioning on that regard, like, okay, God, like, what is this all about? What's the point? When is this ever gonna come to an end? And so and so, but in that, like, even there's joy in that, because I'm like, if it's God's, purpose for me to get married, I'm never gonna get these years back. I'm never gonna get this time back. I'm never gonna be able to do some of the things that like I can do. Like even one of the questions was that somebody submitted was like, what are you afraid most of? Like, I guess like when you get married or something like that. And I'm like, I gotta share my space. I can't be doing what I want to do when I want to do it. I can't just like, everybody knows me, like I love to travel, all that stuff. Like I can't just be going places whenever I want to go and be like, all right, bye. Like I can't, there's a lot of things that you can't do. And even in the verses that the air conditioning, yes, exactly. Or for me, the heat, because I'm always cold. And so like CJ was saying with the verses that he mentioned, like there are just certain, your priority shift, your focus shifts, and there are certain things that you can't do. Don't listen to him. There are certain things that you can't do and that so there are certain things that you can't do. And it's like your priorities and your focus shift, right? And so what once was is never going to come back around again, because this is what God wants you to do and who he wants you to be in this time. And so it's like singleness is a gift, marriage is a gift, every step of your life is a gift, because you learn and you grow and you're communing with God each and every step of the way, but in a different way, and it looks different. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that he has, guarded me from certain things, but I also think that there's a joy that comes in the contentment of singleness, because that honestly comes from God. Like that doesn't come from me. I don't want to be single. Like, if I'm being honest, like that's not of my own nature. That's not of my own flesh. Like that's God, and that's all I have to say.
Yeah, I think that's really good. Yeah, I definitely think that, man, that's such a deep question. I think God has protected me for so much, just in the process that I'm in now. Um, I think some of it is protecting me from the heartbreak that I would lead myself into, because of a lack of like maturity, um, or wisdom that I have at the time. I think some of the joy is like like really being rooted in the fact that I'm really okay by myself, right? And not just okay, but like I'm loved, I'm wanted, I'm desired, without because just in college, I'm keeping it honest, a lot of my worth and my identity was in how many girls were in my DMs or how many girls I was sleeping with or X, Y, and Z. I'm just being honest, right? It's like my worth and my value was caught up in that, So, and as like being in the joy of singleness, it's like, wow, I am loved without someone being next to me 24/7. While I am okay, like, wow, I really am contentment. Don't get me wrong. There aren't moments, right? There aren't moments where I'm just like, dang, these DMs kind of dry. You know what I'm saying? Because it feels good to get a DM. Can we be honest? Hello in here. But it feels good, right?
True that.
Right. I don't know who said that, but amen, right? But yeah, like, yeah, it's just real, it's just real. So yeah.
It's good. Please, y'all, don't answer every DM. There's another word that starts with D and it ends with L, and we don't mess with him. So don't answer everything in your DMs.
Oh my gosh.
But so how's everybody feeling? Because we have to end soon because it is 8:00. How are people feeling about the panel? Okay, it's quiet.
It
Wow.
was really good.
Good.
Yeah, I know there was a lot of questions on the Slido I looked at. I wish we were able to get some more.
Wait, do we have the famous Maya on here?
If y'all don't leave that girl alone, leave her alone.
Whoa. We have been blessed. But so I think a really good question. So we're going to end really soon because we do have to go, and I know people have responsibilities as well. I want to get to 2 more questions, if that's okay with the panelists.
Yeah, I would say for y'all, like vote up them questions, like vote up those 2 questions. Like there's like 13 on here or 11 as I'm looking at right now. Like vote them up, like vote them up, like because we only got time for 2.
So I'm going to ask one question, and then the top voted question will be the next one that I ask. So whatever you haven't heard that's in the Slido that you want to be asked, please upvote it so that we can ask it. Once again, the Slido, slido.com, and the code is 41339. Thank you, Emmy. So the one question that I want to ask first is that what is the difference between being single and alone? And I'll start us off while y'all thinking real quick. For me, this is something that was actually very important. I remember just because like people who know me know that like there's just been a lot of stuff just to walk through like earlier on in life, just with feeling like I have to actually do stuff on my own. So something that was important for me was to actually feel like I wasn't alone. And there's this verse where Jesus is talking about and it's in John 16. I believe it's verse 33. I might be messing it up, but it's in John chapter 16. But Jesus is talking to his disciples and he says, if you strike the shepherd, the sheep will leave. So the sheep will scatter. He's saying that all of them will leave him. He says, even if everyone leaves, I'm not alone because my Father is with me. I know a lot of us are like, sometimes we feel like some verses are cliche because we hear them a lot. Me, I was like, God, if this is not true, like I cannot hold on to this. This needs to be something that is so true in my soul that I cannot separate it from myself. Like there's nothing that can separate me from this word that you're saying, that even if everyone leaves me, I'm not alone because my Father is with me. Because the same Jesus who said that lives in me. So if that's true, because of him, I know you won't separate yourself from him. Like, I know that you won't separate yourself from him. So that actually became something for me that showed me I'm not alone because my Father is actually with me. Because he said that to Jesus, and I know he won't lie to his son. So I know that he also won't lie to me as well.
So good.
Yeah, so when I heard that question, I thought about two things. So the way I see it is loneliness is a feeling, and being alone, and alone is a state of being. And so in the Bible, it says, talking about God, like, I will never leave you nor forsake you. So God, like CJ said, like, God is always with you. So you're never alone, but you might experience feelings of loneliness. And so even though you might experience those feelings, that doesn't mean that you're alone. It doesn't mean that you're by yourself. It doesn't mean that someone isn't with you. It just means a physical person is not physically with you, but God is ever present. So he's always with you, even though it might not be physical, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, that's really good. It's really well
Wait.
said.
I know. Can I say something real quick? The
Sure, go ahead.
top two questions are tied. I need people to go in and vote. We're only asking one more question.
Yeah, I would say, like, just if anyone's out there who's felt lonely, like, it's just real. I felt that multiple times, you know, and then because I think it's the lie, the enemy from our childhood, from our past, like dealing with rejection. Rejection means the absence of love. Abandonment means, you know, um, that no one wants to stay, right? And honestly, I have dealt with both heavy, and I still battle both of those, like, just for being honest, spirits, right? Um, and I think that, like, there comes a point that my hope and my prayer for everyone in this call is that there comes a moment in time when you're in your room by yourself and God's presence just fills your heart. He just fills your heart, where you feel so seen, so heard, so understood, so loved, so cared for, that there's no other way that it could be anyone else who could see you this much. And that comes from posturing yourself in a position where I've literally cried out to God on my knees. God, I feel alone. God, I feel lonely right now. God, fill my heart. Because, you know, especially when God was pruning my life and cleansing my DMs, um, um, I wasn't out here, but I was out here, you know, to God's standard. But I have a testimony. But anyway, you know, I never forget my junior year. Like, God stripped me from all the female relationships I was playing with in or whatever, and I felt so alone and lonely. And I just remember him, like, I remember being in front of Blackburn, hello, and for all my Howard people, y'all know where that is. And I just remember crying out to God, like, God, I want friends. Like, I feel so alone. Because I was using women as an emotional crutch, to be honest. And over time, like, God gave me friends to fill that void of wanting to be in community, because we're all created for relationship. We're created to be loved, seen, and heard first by God, but God also does that through other people. So I don't know if that answers the question, but I hope it does.
You answered something. I like Q&R better than Q&A. Question and response better than question and answers. So you gave a response. Thank you. So, wow, Emmy, I'm going to expose your message that you sent me. Never mind. I won't do that because the Lord,
We don't have time,
looks on you with thankfulness. I know you didn't expect that, Emmy. But okay, so the last question we will ask at Gabby's request. So if you have a problem with this, hit Gabby up. We're not going to ask the top voted question because Somebody went.
The top voted question is the singleness question.
Oh, the thing, somebody done switched their vote. Y'all not slick. Because the top voted one was 9 and the other one was 10. Okay, we will ask the top voted question. So last question of the night. If I mishandle my singleness gift, what are some things that I can do to still explore even while in a relationship? If y'all not ready, oh, y'all are ready. Never mind.
The minister in me is like, there's a lot to that question. Like the minister in me is like, there's something there, like not to feel seen. That's why this is anonymous. This is why everyone says safe space, right? But when I'm reading that, I've been reading it this whole time. I'm like, there's a lot there. There is a lot there. I'm thinking like, what does it mean to mishandle? What are you talking about? Are you still in a relationship? Is this a situationship? But without uncovering you, I'm just being honest, but just because I care, right? It's like, and I don't want to be legalistic about this. I'll say this though. If you entered a relationship without the permission and lordship of God, it's time to bring that decision back to God. What does that mean, right? So there were relationships in my life, male, female, doesn't matter, that because we compartmentalize, right? So like Jesus is Lord, like, oh yeah, I'm not gonna be out here, but like, is he Lord of your decisions and your emotions, right? In your relationship. So like, if I entered in a relationship not consulting God, godly wisdom in the scriptures, right? So prayer, scriptures, and counsel, right? It's all combined into one. Then I need to, bring that decision that was made outside of his lordship back under his lordship, right? And revisit that, right? Not like, oh, like I'm here and God is Lord now, and like whatever is in my life, I'm going to move forward, and I think what's very important is to bring that up, like, God, are you saying, or like, God, was I ever supposed to be in this in the first place? You know what I'm saying? Do you want me to enter in a season of singleness? Is this relationship godly? And I think there are also some practical questions that you can ask that can help if you're even should be in that relationship or not. You know what I'm saying? Like, I won't go into the practical questions right now because I think that's a discipleship moment and hearing more of the conversation. But I think number one thing is discerning whether you should be there in the first place. That's what I would say in a short form.
So the first thing that came to my mind is something that my roommate always says, and it's, you're single until you get married. And so this is not a permission to disrespect whoever you're with or whatever, but you're still single. Your time is not wasted. And I would say get with God and get to know God for who he is to you, but also who he's called you to be individually, even though you're in a relationship. Because that's what's most important. Until, like Ronnell was saying, he shows you, like, is this the relationship I'm supposed to be in? So, yeah.
That's good. I think to reiterate what Brianna was saying, there was only 2 gifts that was mentioned: singleness and marriage. In a relationship, y'all are stewarding your singleness gift together until God gives y'all another gift. So for the person who asked the question, like, it's not wasted on you. For the people who upvoted the question, it is not wasted because you are still, because it seems like the question isn't about somebody who's married. So you're still in that season where that gift can be like stewarded. Because even in a relationship, God will bring up a lot of stuff. If you try to ignore it, like, relationships done well should be hard. This is a whole nother conversation to have. But the reason why is because the purpose is for sanctification. God is doing something. So there should actually be, like, God.
Wait, what is sanctification? I don't know what that means.
God is taking you from what you look like to what he looked like in short terms. So if done properly, that singleness gift will actually, like, God will show you why you need to steward that gift if you keep playing around in a relationship. So get with God. And what do we mean by get with God? If you don't know what that means, please hit one of us up. Please send a DM to the person who is under Every Nation Campus DC right now. And we will connect with you, because I'm telling you, you will not regret that decision. This is the last thing I'll say. Don't settle for glitter when God is giving you gold. And that's not like, think about it, glitter, nobody will say it because we know the value of both. But if you're looking upon something from afar, people would always look more at the sparkle of glitter than they would actually look at gold. But when you get close and evaluate what's the actual value, all the glitter in the world, I don't even know if it can match up to a block of gold. When God has given you a gift, he's giving you gold. Don't settle for glitter. Go seek your maker. So can we say thank you to our panelists?
Thank you, panelists.
Wow.
Brianna and Ronnell.
Thanks, guys.
Good. That was good.
You're appreciated. You're appreciated.
You're welcome. Hopefully something blessed you.